Welcome to part 6 of Mark the Day. Let us go talk with Mark. And this is January the 24th, 2025 by man's calendar. And this is Mark chapter 5. We're going to jump right on in here because we need to cover as much ground as we possibly can. So let's do that. And they came over to the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who has his dwelling among the tombs. And no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains. And the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken into pieces, and neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with you, Jesus, you Son of the Most High God? I adjure you, by God, that you torment me not. For he said to him, Come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is your name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there near to the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. And they were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled, and told it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what it was that was done. And they came to Jesus, and see him that was possessed with the devil, and had the legion, sitting and clothed, and in his right hand, and in his right mind, and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coasts. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devils prayed him that he might be with him. However, Jesus allowed him not, but said to him, Go home to your friends and tell them how great thing the Lord has done for you and has had compassion on you. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great thing Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship to the other side, many people gathered to him, and he was near to the sea. And behold, there comes one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet and besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lies at the point of death. I pray you, come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and many people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. She grew worse after everything that they tried. This should tell you something. The witchcrafts were not working. Jesus is the only hope. Witchcraft will not cure you. These things cannot save you. Man and man's efforts cannot save us. We need Jesus. And only Jesus can save us now. Because we have come so far and been deceived so much that only Jesus can release us from these deceptions. It is by sorceries that all nations have been deceived. Look it up. I put a post up earlier on my Facebook, in fact, about this. And about chips. And not Chips Ahoy either. Not the edible kind. Going in the brain. By the musket. Use some discernment on what I'm saying. You know, Elon Musket, yeah, who likes to put computer parts into people. So that's going to be like possession, right? Once you get that chip in there, because other people are going to be able to control what your brain is thinking and doing. Right? So that's the very definition of possession right there, right? Other people are going to be able to tell you what to do. Is this really what you want going on in your body? For real? Hmm. You want other people to be in control of you. So then, how then will you be able to prevent yourself from doing evil? It's just like possession. If you continue in sin, it will overtake you. And if you continue in these things, they will overtake you. They will destroy you. Look at what's happening. The Bible even says it is for my elect's sake that I come when I come. These days have to be shortened because of this, or there shall be no flesh saved. You're allowing them to replace all your parts with false things. Things that God never intended to be part of man. Because the iron and clay does not mix. Even Daniel told us that. But at the time that Daniel wrote that, he could not perceive these things because back then they did not exist. He could not perceive these things where they put these pieces of machinery into human beings, making cyborgs. This was not a reality to them, and they had no perception of these things. So Daniel was perplexed, remember? For many days he was perplexed by what he saw. But y'all do not even use a modicum of wisdom when it comes to these things. You do not seek the Lord first to see if this is his will. You just go headlong and do it. Mark 5, verse 27. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment, because she knew her only hope was Jesus. For she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the plague, of the affliction. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, who touched my clothes? And his disciples said to him, you see the multitude thronging you, and you say, and say you, who touched me? And he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace and be whole of your plague. See, it takes Jesus. It takes Jesus. And we're not touching Jesus when we're touching pharmakia. We're touching things man-made. We're touching science and witchcraft. We are not touching the hem of his garment. And you think, well, he's not here. Then what is the Holy Ghost? Chopped liver? He is very much here. You just won't allow him in. See you in the next part.